Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by War MMA Bantamweight Cody Gibson. Cody, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on today.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for doing it. Cody, you got a fight coming up June 22nd at War MMA 1. How's training been going for the fight?
It's been going good, just been on the grind for the last 6 months or so, been training hard and feel pretty good about it.
Now, War MMA, that's Nick Diaz's show. This is going to be the first time he puts on an event. Just curious, how did this fight all come together? Because it seems like this card came together pretty quickly. How long have you been training specifically for this fight, and how did they contact you to put you on this card?
Even before the whole news of when the event was going to take place and the venue and all of that, I already knew about it. And there was still some just talk among people about him putting on an event. I already knew when it was going to be and who I was fighting, so I've known for, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks about it. And it just came together. They actually contacted my head coach. It wasn't even my management they went through. They just went and called my head coach and wanted to specifically see if I wanted to fight. So.
Now, Cody, a lot of people have been talking about the rule set for this event. It's basically your standard unified rules. The only thing they've taken out is the elbows. One of your most famous fights, and a lot of people know you from this fight, is your fight against Y.L. Watson. You utilized those elbows brilliantly and were able to stop him. How much does not having those elbows, how much will that change your game, and how much has it changed your preparation for this fight?
Just a few times in training when I'm doing my ground and pound, I'll catch myself throwing elbows over the top. Or from I like the crucifix position, so if I got there, I like to drop elbows from there. I've had to catch myself a few times and say, hey, I can't do that. So, but I mean, overall, I don't think it'll change too much. I mean, there's positives and negatives to elbows on the ground. I understand why they're doing what they're doing in some respects. Because a lot of times you can get a guy, he's got top control and he stays really tight, and then he'll just, you could throw an elbow without really exposing your arms, You can kind of just throw one over the top and not really put yourself into dangerous situations with arm bars and triangles and stuff like that. So they're trying to create more action, and, in order to strike from top, you've got to create space, and that opens up offense for the bottom man as well. So it makes sense. I don't really have a problem with that. I'm pretty sure I could still elbow from standing up. I'm hoping I can.
Yeah, I think that's the rules. It's just on the ground, no elbows. I'm pretty sure standing elbow strikes, I think, are legal. So, also in this fight, there's going to be, a difference in the surface that you're going to be fighting on. You're not going to be competing in a cage. You're going to be competing in a ring. Have you ever fought in a ring before?
Yeah, one time. I have.
And a lot of the fights that I see you in, I notice that you really like to, press guys up against the cage and then get a takedown. With that being, kind of your go-to when you look for a takedown, how will this affect that, being in a ring? Will you just have to, try to find that turnbuckle, the corner ring post more, or is that something that you've been working on through this camp of not having to rely on pushing an opponent up against the surface and try to, if you're going to go for a takedown, try to get it in the center?
I mean, not too much. I mean, I do prefer when I'm going for takedowns to put my opponent against the cage in a clinch position, just because it's a lot safer than shooting an open double leg. There you can get a knee or an uppercut from the clinch on the cage. You can definitely lift them up and slam them a lot easier. And so I do prefer to do that. But, I mean, if I got him against the ropes or I'd probably look to put him in the corner to take him, if I'm going to take him down from a clinch position. But, I'm going up against a good jiu-jitsu guy, so, whether it's on the ground or standing, I'm probably not going to push for the takedown as much as I normally would. I feel like I definitely have an advantage on the feet, so...
But should you look for a takedown, do you think it'll be easier for you to, keep your opponent on the ground? Because a lot of the guys nowadays, they like to, utilize the cage to, roll and try to get into a scramble or something, use the fence to, improve their position or reverse a position. Do you think that now this being in a ring, that will actually help you keep the fight in the spot that you want it at?
Yeah, I mean, there's positives and negatives to that as well. I mean, if you're on top of a guy, if you could smash his head into the cage, that really limits his ability to to move his hips and to create scramble positions for submissions. But at the same time, they can't hook onto the cage or push off the cage with their feet to swivel their hips for an arm bar or a triangle or something like that too. So I mean, there's positives and negatives to it, and it probably is a little bit easier to keep a guy on his back in a ring just because they can't wall walk up the ropes like they can a cage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Definitely. Now you're going to be fighting Darren Cooley. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
Yeah, I've known about Darren for a long time. He's a pretty well-respected jiu-jitsu guy from out of Cesar Gracie's camp. I think he got his brown belt pretty recently. I know he's pretty crafty on the ground. I've only seen a couple of his fights, but I've seen some of his jiu-jitsu matches too, and he's a pretty crafty guy on the ground. Stand up, he doesn't seem like he's out of his element. He's not throwing wild or leaving a lot of openings, so I think he's a pretty tough guy. I know any guy that's Caesars has got to be tough to be in that environment every day training. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a good test, I think. I've kind of gone up against a guy with his similar skill set before, and Ulysses Gomez, mm-hmm. and I kind of trained similarly. I didn't train similarly, but some of the same type of game plan kind of stuff. For him, I think that I did with Ulysses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think he's well-rounded for the most part, so it should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that you feel that you have a stand-up advantage over him. You feel that your stand-up is better than his, but it seems like in all your fights, regardless if you have the advantage on the feet or not, it seems to end up on the ground. Why is that? Is that just something that's natural for you coming from a wrestling background to want to get a takedown? I don't know. It just instinct takes over. What has caused these fights to be on the ground?
Well, I think part of it is just development, and honestly, if I'm going into a fight and I feel like I have the stand-up advantage, but I also feel like I can take them down whenever I want, I tend to want to take them down if I don't feel that threatened on the ground with their jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Because we're wearing 4-ounce gloves. Even if I have a stand-up advantage, it just takes one punch, and mm-hmm. suddenly I just got a loss on my record. If I don't feel like they could threaten me on the ground, and I'm not, too worried about their ground skills, it's a lot easier to take a guy down and, posture up, pass guard, and beat him up that way. Look for a submission or just a ground and pound. Mm-hmm. So for the most part, I do like to take the fight to the ground, but specifically for this fight, I'm excited to showcase some more stand-up. I don't really think I'm going to be looking for too many takedowns. I think I'll be defending most of the takedowns. I think he's going to be looking to either pull his guard or to get a takedown on me. I think that if takedowns are there and I feel comfortable on the ground, it might happen, but I don't think it's something I'm necessarily going to have to go to. Mm-hmm. Especially early on in the fight.
Mm-hmm. Right now, you're on a 3-fight winning streak. You seem to have cranked it up a couple notches since those 2 losses. You mentioned the loss to Ulysses Gomez. You also had a loss to Casey Olsen. But since then, 3 fights in a row, 3 wins, 2 stoppages. What's changed for you? Is it just that maybe those 2 losses against Olsen and Gomez kind of lit a fire under you? Or is it just that you're getting more comfortable with being a fighter in mixed martial arts, and that's kind of why you went on this nice little streak here? What's changed for you?
I think those experiences, people, I know it's kind of cliche, but the old saying that you learn so much mm-hmm. You learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. Mm-hmm. And both of those experiences, taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about fighting. And so, I've cranked it up. I think, I kind of had a lot of hope to be in the UFC had I won those fights mm-hmm. Already. And then when it didn't happen, I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and really start working on developing some skills. And I've been on the, before this last fight I had in January was the first time I started working with a strength and conditioning coach. Before that, both the Casey Olsen fight, the Ulysses Gomez fight, and every fight previously, I just kind of done it on my own, just from my wrestling background. If you work hard, you're in shape, and if I'm running hard and I'm doing sprints, I'm in shape. But now I'm working with someone who really knows the whole science behind strength and conditioning, and he even comes from a martial arts background, so he kind of caters to mixed martial arts as opposed to if I went to just some guy at a gym or something. I might work with like runners or cyclists, so I think it showed in my last fight. I put on a lot of size, and also my conditioning is a whole lot better. So he works from everything from lactic acid and dealing with that in a fight, and the different energy systems that we use while competing in mixed martial arts. So I think that's changed a lot. Jiu-jitsu I continue to work on every day, and my stand-up as well. So I don't know if it's necessarily I changed all that much other than the strength and conditioning, or I just got a little bit smarter, and I've rattled off a few wins, and I'm looking to make it four in a row with another stoppage.
Mm-hmm. Cody, are you a full-time fighter now, or are you still working as a substitute teacher and a wrestling coach?
Yeah, I'm still still subbing and still coaching wrestling. Wrestling season's over, so I haven't been coaching too much lately. Mm-hmm. I just finished up subbing about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and so now it's been nice the last few weeks being able to train full time, get in the gym in the morning and the evening. I don't know if I'm necessarily training all that much more, but it's nice to be able to break up your workout. So I go in the mornings and do my strength conditioning and training, and sometimes some jiu-jitsu too. And then be able to regroup during the day and go back in the evening fresh, ready to put in another 3 or 4 hours of work. And instead of when I'm working, it's an 8-hour day, and then I head straight to the gym, do my strength and conditioning training, and then head straight to jiu-jitsu, and then after jiu-jitsu, do my striking. So you get pretty worn down by the time you get to your second or third workout when they're just one after another. So It's been kind of nice. At least for the time being, to be able to pretend like I'm a full-time fighter.
Mm-hmm. Are you still going to school to try to get your teaching certificate, or are you just, focused on the fighting right now and, the coaching, wrestling, and the substituting for right now?
Yeah, I'm still in the master's program. I'm getting my teaching credential. Mm-hmm. I'm done with all my classes. All I've got left to do is my student teaching, which is going to start here in late August, and I'll be doing that from August to December. I'll be doing student teaching, which is just pretty much a nice way to say I'll be working for free for a semester. But I'm going to complete that, so I'll have that. It's something I've been working towards for the last couple of years, so I want to finish it and have my credential in hand so that, whether I jump on board and become a teacher in 2014 or not, I want to have that to fall back on. And I'm just about done with the master's program too, so I'm going to try to finish that up by the end, hopefully end of this year, early next year.
Mm-hmm. What grade level are you trying to teach at, and what subjects?
I'm a history teacher. I majored in history in college, and I teach 10th and 11th.
Oh, okay. So, the plan, high school teacher and then high school coach, is that kind of your plan?
Yeah, I'm coaching at my alma mater, high school, and I enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy the environment that the school is. It's kind of a low-income area, so a lot of the kids are they need some direction and some guidance, and if I can give it to them through wrestling and introducing them to the sports that kind of saved me, then that motivates me. I enjoy it, and I'm not the head coach anymore. I resigned as the head coach for the time being. I'm just helping out at this point until I'm ready to take the program over. For now, I'm just helping out. So, but yeah, that's kind of the plan later in life, or hopefully later in life, is to coach and teach high school.
I see. Now, Cody, I read your Twitter. I see you, tweeting all the time to Sean Shelby, UFC, all that stuff. Is the goal, like every fighter's goal, is the goal for you to be in the UFC? Is that where you see yourself? Maybe a win here, maybe another win, and you'll be there?
Yeah, my management is pretty good about it too. Whenever there's an injury, I'm the kind of guy that I'm always in the gym. I'm always training. I'm rarely out of shape, or rarely within a couple weeks I could be in fight shape because I'm always training. I'm always keeping my weight down, and so if there's an injury, we're trying to jump on the UFC card. I don't care who it's against. I don't care if it's at 35s, at 45s. I'm always trying to get in there one way or the other. It seems like that's really the only avenue to get in at this point, and sometimes it feels like that at least. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to keep working toward it. I haven't given up on my goal, my dream. And I went to the Ultimate Fighter tryouts earlier this year. And they went really well. I made it all the way through all the different tryouts. I did the grappling, got quite a few submissions in that, and did the striking, and I did the interviews, and they kept me there for the whole week in Vegas, and I did all my medicals, and they sent us home saying, be prepared to fight to get in the house May 28th or whenever they were bringing us back to fight to get in the house, and because they started filming, and but they said also there was, I don't know if there was like 24 guys left, and they're narrowing it down to 16 or whatever the case was. But I got the unfortunate text message that I didn't make it. So I was training actually to fight to get in the house, and then when that didn't work out, kind of bummed. I was kind of bummed for a minute, but just got to keep pushing. A lot of that has to do with the producers at that point. I got through the skills training, which is, so I got to take some positive out of it, and also I got free medical, so that was $700.
Right.
So I'm trying to stay positive about it and just keep my head up.
Yeah, definitely. At this point, are you really only interested in fighting for the UFC? Because there's a lot of other promotions out there that have good bantamweights. There's Bellator, they've got some good bantamweights. You've got World Series of Fighting, they've got some good bantamweights. MFC, they just started a bantamweight division and are looking to build that weight class up. Are you open to fighting for some of these other shows, or are you just solely focused on trying to get to the UFC?
Yeah, I'd actually been talking to, or my management had been talking to World Series of Fighting, and then in the Ultimate Fighter, it was announced that it was going to be a bantamweights, and the World Series of Fighting at the time had only had one show, and we weren't really clear as to where the direction of this, the organization was going, so we were a little bit kind of waiting, I guess. And then when the Ultimate Fighter thing happened, I said, let's hold off on the World Series of Fighting. I want to go to these tryouts. And so now when I came back, then I was training for the fight to get in the house on the Ultimate Fighter. And then when that didn't happen, this opportunity came up real quick. So, I don't know. I think the World Series of Fighting is showing a lot of promise. They're having multiple shows, it seems like, this year. And, so, I mean, it's still an option to go that direction. I know the NRC, actually, the kid that just fought for the first bantamweight, Ryan Benoit, is a friend of mine. He went to college with me for a year and wrestled. So I mean, I'm open to anything. I mean, I think that from the time I started this sport, in my mind, my dream and my goal is to be in the UFC, because I do feel like I can compete in the UFC. I feel like I can put on a good show. I feel like I could compete with the majority of the roster. So I think that's still kind of set in my mind. But other opportunities present themselves. The World Series of Fighting looks pretty cool right now. One of my buddies is actually fighting on the card this weekend. Joe Murphy, he's fighting Chase Peavy's brother.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that World Series of Fighting, they've got a pretty good stable that they're building of bantamweights. They got Carson Beebe, Joe Murphy, the guys you mentioned, Miguel Torres, Tyson Nam, Marlon Moraes, who a lot of people have as top 10 in the world because of those wins over Torres and Nam. So those could be, potential good matchups should you go there.
Yeah, they do have some good bantamweights, and that's I kind of just want to concentrate on this fight and see, make sure I do my job and get the win and get the finish, and then we'll kind of reevaluate what direction we want to go. But yeah, there are no doors that are closed in my mind. It's not black and white by any means. So I'm open for anything, but for now I got to concentrate on finishing Darren Cooley. So.
How do you get that finish? How do you envision this fight ending? How do you stop Darren Cooley?
I'd like to do it with strikes. I think my stand-up game has really come a long way, from my boxing to my kickboxing and Muay Thai. I'd like to finish him with a knockout or hurt him enough and drop him and TKO him, or however it goes. That's how I envision it. Fighters talk about mental preparation and playing the fight out over and over in their head, and And that seems to be the way my mind's working right now as far as how I'm envisioning the fight going. So, submitting a Cesar Gracie brown belt is possible still too, though. I mean, I catch good guys all the time. Not that I'm necessarily better than them at jiu-jitsu, but doesn't mean I can't catch them in one of my chokes or something that I'm good at, in the jiu-jitsu world.
Mm-hmm. Cody, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I think All Pro Science, they're my supplement sponsor. They give me everything I need to keep me moving and keep me going. So I want to thank them. My management team, the Paradigm, I'm really happy that I'm part of that family. And just my team here in Visalia at Elite MMA. I've been training with a lot of different people right now and getting ready for this. So just appreciate my training partners being there for me. And likewise, when they're fighting, I try to be there for them. So that's the kind of environment you want to surround yourself with. So just want to thank them and appreciate you having me on the show.
Sure, definitely. Cody, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck June 22nd at War MMA 1 against Darren Cooley.
All right, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.